I didn't mean to say it. I was drunk. Tired. Angry at the world, maybe even at myself. But I said it. And when I woke up, my husband was gone. Along with everything that mattered to me. Let me back up. My name is Emily. I'm 34 years old. I've been married to Noah for 7 years. And for most of those years, I thought we were solid. Not perfect. Not explosive. But dependable. Noah's the kind of man who remembers your mom's birthday, who keeps spare batteries in the junk drawer, who quietly makes your coffee while you're still brushing your teeth. He's calm. Loyal. A little too quiet, maybe. He never swept me off my feet, but he was there every single time I needed someone to catch me. But lately, I'd started to feel bored. Restless. You know how it is, your friends are posting about their spontaneous getaways to Bali. They're madly in love with guys who write poetry or cook 5-course meals on random Wednesdays. And I was sitting next to Noah, who was perfectly fine, but didn't make me feel anything new. I started comparing. And comparison is a venom you drink slowly, until one day, you're not even sure if you're still alive inside your own life. So when my friend Marissa threw her 35th birthday party, a wine-soaked, high-end, rooftop affair, I drank too much. Way too much. I vented to my girlfriends, told them I felt like I was stuck in a loop. That Noah and I hadn't had real sex in months. That sometimes I looked at him and felt nothing. They laughed, tried to comfort me, said all couples go through it. Then came the ride home. Noah was driving. Silent as ever. I was leaning against the window, dizzy, exhausted, and then the words just fell out of me like poison. I'm not even attracted to you anymore. I remember the way he gripped the steering wheel. His knuckles turned white. But he didn't say a word. Not one. I stumbled inside, threw myself onto the bed, and passed out. And when I woke up, his side of the bed was empty, the closet half bare. His shoes were gone. His toothbrush. His cologne. There was just a folded piece of paper on the kitchen table. That's when I knew. He didn't just walk away. He left me. And the worst part, he didn't even slam the door. Noah and I didn't have a whirlwind romance. There were no grand gestures, no airport chases, no dramatic, you had me at hello moments. We met at a bookstore. He was reading Murakami, I was pretending to read Sylvia Plath that I woke up with my head pounding and my mouth dry as sandpaper. The kind of hangover that makes you regret every sip and every word. I reached over for Noah. His side of the bed was cold. I sat up, blinking at the sunlight streaming through the curtains. Something felt wrong. Too quiet. Too still. I pulled on my robe and walked toward the kitchen. That's when I saw it, just a folded piece of paper on the table. No keys. No wallet. No sign of life. And the note. You deserve someone you're attracted to. I deserve someone who wants me. No salutation. No goodbye. Just that. I opened the closet. Half empty. His shirts, gone. His jackets. His duffel bag. I checked the bathroom. His razor, his toothbrush, the cologne I used to tease him about, it was all missing. I called his phone. Straight to voicemail. I texted, "Where are you? Can we talk?" iMessage turned green. His location was disabled. His social media accounts deactivated. Just like that, it was like he vanished. I called his best friend. His sister. Even his coworker, Gabe, the one he couldn't stand. No one had heard from him. That's when the panic set in. Not because he was missing. But because, deep down, I knew this wasn't impulsive. He'd been planning this. He didn't storm out in the middle of the night. He left, intentionally. Quietly. And somehow, that hurt more. Because it meant he'd stopped fighting for us a long time ago. I paced around the apartment like a ghost. Called him again. And again. Nothing. I checked his drawers, gone. His laptop, gone. Even the framed photo of us in Rome, the one we argued over where to hang, was missing from the wall. I collapsed on the couch, the weight of what I'd done pressing on my chest. At first, I was angry. How could he just leave like that? Without talking. Without trying. But that quickly turned into something worse, grief. Real, suffocating grief. Because as much as I'd said it without thinking, I hadn't meant it like that. I wasn't done. I was lost. I didn't think he'd actually walk away. Noah, the man who stayed calm during every storm, who waited out every tantrum, who forgave without being asked, he had left. And in the silence he left behind, I finally heard everything he'd been holding in. I destroyed the one person who never gave up on me. And he didn't slam the door when he left. He just disappeared. Our love was a slow burn, the kind that takes time to catch, but once it does, feels warm and reliable. Safe. For a long time, I loved that about him. He was steady when everything else in my life felt like chaos. He let me talk through my insecurities without trying to fix them. He made me feel heard, even when I wasn't making sense. But somewhere along the way, I started to confuse that safety for stagnation. Maybe it's because Noah works long hours now. His tech startup took off, and suddenly, everything was about deadlines, investors, and just one more meeting. He was providing for us, sure. But emotionally, I felt like I was talking into a void. I didn't even know when it started, this growing emptiness in me. It was just little things at first. I'd dress up for a night out, and he'd barely glance up from his laptop. I'd try to initiate conversations, but his mind was elsewhere. I don't think he meant to ignore me. But intention doesn't always erase impact. And then there was Thomas. My coworker. Harmless, at first. He noticed my earrings. Asked if I'd changed my perfume. Told me I had a mischievous smile. Little things. Tiny sparks I hadn't felt in a while. I didn't cheat. But I thought about what it would feel like if I did. And even thinking that felt like a betrayal. So, when Marissa's birthday party rolled around, I was already carrying all this unspoken weight. I laughed louder than I should have. Drank more than I needed to. And let it all out with my girlfriends. I don't think he even sees me anymore, I remember saying. I feel like I'm with a roommate who occasionally does my taxes. They giggled, tried to comfort me. But I wasn't joking. When we got in the car that night, Noah was quiet. I thought he hadn't heard me earlier. But now, I realize he had. He heard everything. And when I slurred out, "I'm not even attracted to you anymore," I wasn't trying to hurt him. I was trying to be honest. Trying to start some kind of fire just to see if we were still alive in this marriage. But I didn't expect what he did next. Because most people scream, or cry, or beg. Noah. He just left. The next few weeks felt like living underwater, every sound muffled, every movement slow and heavy. I woke each morning to an empty bed and a silence so loud it felt like a punch to the chest. I tried to keep busy. I returned to work, smiled at clients, pretended everything was fine. But people could see it on my face. My friends stopped calling as often. At first, they said they were giving me space, but I knew they were judging me. Casual invitations dwindled, and I began to feel like an exile in my own life. At the office, Mark, the coworker who once made me feel noticed, started flirting again. He sent me coffee, made jokes about how I deserved better, asked me to lunch. But I couldn't meet his eyes. It all felt so hollow, like hollow words meant to fill a hollow space. Noah had been my anchor. He was the steady pulse beneath my chaos. Without him, I was adrift. Every little thing reminded me of what I'd thrown away, the quiet mornings when he'd pad downstairs in his socks, warm and oversized, bringing me a cup of tea before I even opened my eyes. The way he remembered exactly how I liked it, a splash of milk, a teaspoon of honey. His habit of leaving little notes in my purse, have a great meeting, or don't forget to breathe. I started finding those notes again, hidden in old jacket pockets, tucked between pages of notebooks. Each one was like a ghost, whispering what I'd lost. I emailed him, trying every address I could think of. My messages sat unread. No read receipts. No reply. Just digital echoes in an empty inbox. One afternoon, tidying the bookshelf, I knocked over a photo frame. It shattered on the floor. Inside was our wedding picture, me in a lace dress, smiling up at Noah as he held my hand at the altar. His eyes shone with pride and love. I picked up the broken glass and stared at his face. Tears blurred my vision, and I sank to my knees. Why did I ruin the one thing that was real? I whispered to the silence, an echo that answered me back. And in that moment, I realized the truth I'd been running from. I hadn't wanted excitement. I'd wanted him. But it was too late. I had already let him go. It had been nearly 6 months since Noah left. By then, I had stopped expecting an email or a phone call. The silence had become a kind of companion, cold but familiar. So when the certified letter arrived, I thought it was a mistake. Maybe a tax document. A bank update. Something routine. But as soon as I saw his name on the return address, Noah Reed, Tuscany, Italy, my hands started to shake. I sat at the kitchen table, the same one where I'd found his goodbye note, and opened the envelope with trembling fingers. Inside was a formal letter from his lawyer, a divorce petition. Simple. Clean. Final. There was a second envelope inside. A handwritten note from Noah. And a photo. They were standing in front of a vineyard. He was holding her hand. She was stunning, graceful, effortless, with the kind of glow that comes from both inner peace and being truly seen. Noah looked different. Lighter. Alive. His note wasn't long, "You were my home. Until you made me feel like a stranger in it. I tried to be what you needed. But I realized you were always chasing something that wasn't me. I hope you find what you're looking for." I sat there, staring at the handwriting I knew better than my own, tears streaming down my face. The woman in the photo. Her name was Isabel. I remembered her. She used to work with Noah before he started his own company. He once mentioned her in passing, praised her ideas, said she was sharp. But I'd never seen her as a threat. Never even thought twice about it. Later, I found out from a mutual acquaintance that Noah had quietly sold his startup. He was wealthy now. Comfortably retired. Living in a villa with a wine cellar and a view of the Italian countryside. And Isabel, she'd been offered a role as a partner in a global consulting firm he helped fund. Apparently, they'd stayed distant for years, out of respect for our marriage. But when he walked away from me, he walked straight toward her. He hadn't left out of rage. He left out of clarity. He didn't destroy me. He just moved on. With grace. With purpose. And worst of all, without looking back. And that's what gutted me. Not the wealth. Not the other woman. But the peace in his eyes. The kind that says, "I waited long enough." I gave you every chance. And now I'm choosing me. And in that moment, I realized I wasn't the one who walked away. He was. But only because I pushed him out the door. It's been a year since Noah left. Sometimes, it still feels like it happened yesterday. Other times, it feels like another lifetime, like I watched someone else blow up her own life from the sidelines. I've changed. Not overnight. Not in a way anyone else would notice right away. But inside, I'm not the same woman who blurted out a cruel sentence just to feel something. I started therapy. At first, it felt like punishment. Like I had to earn back my right to be whole. But over time, it became a mirror, showing me all the parts of myself I'd ignored, buried, or excused. The bitterness I held. The validation I chased from people who didn't care. The way I resented Noah for being constant, when really, I was the one who kept drifting. I stopped drinking. Not because alcohol was the problem. But because it became the excuse. The fog I hid behind when I didn't want to face what I was becoming. I don't chase excitement anymore. I understand now, excitement without stability is just chaos dressed up in glitter. It looks thrilling from a distance, but up close, it cuts you. I journal every day. I write letters I'll never send. Mostly to Noah. I write about the mornings he made tea without asking. About how he never once raised his voice, even when I knew I deserved it. About the day I ruined everything with 12 careless words. I date now. Not seriously. And nothing ever lasts longer than a few weeks. There's always a moment, usually quiet, harmless, when I realize they're not him. They don't look at me like I'm a person they chose on purpose. They don't remember how I like my tea. And maybe that's not fair to them. But it's the truth. Noah wasn't perfect. But he was real. And I let my hunger for more ruin everything we had. I was looking for fireworks, never realizing I had a lighthouse. If I could speak to the woman I was that night, I'd say, stop. Think. Don't confuse comfort with boredom. Don't mistake loyalty for weakness. And above all, if you're lucky enough to be truly loved, don't treat it like background noise. Because when it's gone, you'll realize how loud that silence can be.